how it is to study law in one of the best universities in the world?
Should we stop pointing out all the weaknesses of how Spanish universities teach law?
Is there a problem with our education system?
Let's find it out.
Bienvenidos a Kandinsky también empezó estudiando Derecho, un podcast donde juristas emprendedores hablan sobre tecnología, innovación y lo que surja, con Marta Villarroya y Raquel de Aro.
So, welcome, Joshua.
Hi.
Hello, Joshua. We decided to invite you because you studied law at Oxford University and did an exchange for 1 year in the UPF back in 2018. And Bea Garcia, our guest number 6, talked about a topic we found incredibly interesting, and it was something like that. A lot of people want to go on exchange to Oxford, but they just want to go there to have it on their CVs. In her case, she did that. She chose Oxford and got in, but at the end she couldn't go because of personal reasons. And the next year, when she had to apply again for an exchange, she changed her mind and she chose to go to Singapore because she realized that the only reason for her to go to Oxford was that it was Oxford. So first of all, we would like to know why you decided to study there in Oxford and why you chose UPF for an exchange.
So I am from Northern Ireland, which is, I suppose, a little complicated because it's on the island of Ireland, but is also part of the United Kingdom. So I got to apply to United Kingdom universities, and we have, I'm not sure how it works in Spain when you're applying to university, but we have a application system called UCAS, and you pick 5 universities and you send off your applications. And I knew I wanted to do law, so I looked for different universities. I picked 5 different universities, and one of them was Oxford. And I suppose a large part of why I chose it was similar to Bea. It was the reputation. I'm sure you know it's got a very good reputation. I think especially for law, it's well known. Yeah, I thought I might as well give it a go. I'd done okay, grades at school, my results, so I thought I'd give it a go, apply. And I had also been to a summer school that Oxford ran, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was great, so I wanted to go and see what it was like. And then the second question you asked, why did I choose UPF? Well, I have to admit, I didn't actually choose UPF because the way that it worked at Oxford, we didn't get a choice about where we went. It was the course was law with Spanish law, and Oxford happens to have a relationship with UPF, so it was always going to be UPF that we went to. But I don't regret that at all. I was very happy to go to Barcelona. It was a great year. I loved it, and I enjoyed my time at UPF. I think it was quite different, but it was good. So yeah, the balance is your question.
And how was it to study at Oxford in comparison to UPF?
The main difference is that Oxford has quite a unique teaching style. They have lectures, but most of the teaching is actually done in very small groups. And when I say small, I mean two or three students and 1 professor. So every week when I was at Oxford, I had what we call a tutorial, which was this form of teaching where I was in a room with 1 other student and the professor, and we would have talked about the particular subject of law that we had done that week. And the other thing to bear in mind is that Oxford is made up of lots of colleges. The subject you study is different from the college you go to, and they're not necessarily connected. So I studied law at a college called St. John's, but you could study law at any of the colleges. It's hard to describe, I suppose. Being at a college, it was half of it was where you lived, so it was almost like you all went to Oxford University, but you lived at that college the same way you might live in a particular flat or building. But the other half of it is it's more than that. It's more than just a building. It's also your community. You would have had college sports teams that would have competed against each other and things like that. So the reason I say that is because how that affects the teaching is that you're often taught by the law professors who belong to your college. And that's how the tutorials work. So they would teach you different subjects within your college, and then at the end of every week you have this tutorial, which is this small group where there's only a few students and a one professor. I find it really helpful because it meant you could ask the professor questions. It was, I suppose, a bit more intimate than a lecture where you have 150 students and one professor, and it's harder to ask questions. But it also means that you can't really hide. So if you don't know the answer to something, you're going to be found out a lot easier. And I suppose that's the main difference in teaching.
Once you have finished your degree, do some colleges have more reputation than others to find a job, or Oxford has always a good reputation?
I would say no. I think the reputation will be the reputation of Oxford. I think that the college you went to will not really make a difference. The only thing that might make a difference is that, the connections you might have made during your degree might be different. So, for example, there is a university law society in Oxford, but most colleges would also have their own law societies. So the university one would put on lots of events, but also you might have some people from different firms come specifically to your college. So it might be that you've met someone or done some experience with a particular firm being at one college that whereas at a different college it would have been a different firm. But if you're just talking about once you've left making applications, I mean I don't often even put down the name of my college because it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
If that helps.
Yes.
What could UPF take from Oxford to improve in their lectures and curriculum?
I find it hard to say there is one thing that Oxford does much better and that's what UPF should do. I think really it's just that they have very different styles, and I suppose UPF is much more is probably the ordinary, the more normal style that I'm sure you would find at most universities. I think the way that Oxford teaches is just quite different. I think one thing that's quite good about what Oxford does is that when our exams, for example, we don't get very much multiple choice or short answers. And I know there's the exams I did at UPF. There was a bit of a mixture of some multiple choice and then there was some writing. Whereas at Oxford, all of our exams are all writing and it's all essays. And I think the reason for that is that part of what you're being taught when you're doing a law degree at Oxford is not just what the law is and the rules, but also whether you think that it's good or whether you think it should change. And so a lot of the when we're in tutorials, a lot of it will be debate and discussion about whether the law in a particular area makes sense, whether it's consistent, whether it's good, whether we should change it. So one thing perhaps that I think Oxford does well that I didn't see as much of at UPF would be thinking about how the law might change rather than just what all the rules are. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you with the fact that we have a lot of multiple choice exams, and I think that's not a fair way to test students.
And also because real life is not a multiple choice exam. So in real life, as a lawyer, you have to be able to speak and write properly. And if we don't practice it in the university, then when? No?
That's true.
We can talk now about social activities and associations at university. How did you find them in UPF or in Oxford, if you have participated in them or something?
Well, I feel like you guys can probably correct me, but I felt like there are a lot of societies at universities in the UK, and especially at Oxford, for example, there are so many societies for anything you could think of. I mean, I mentioned the Law Society, which is a fairly normal society. There would be other societies for other subjects like medicine, engineering, and so on. But there's also, lots of societies just around people's interests. So, I mean, even things as unique as, I think there's like chess clubs and language societies. There's a Spanish society. There's a society for drinking tea, and I think there was one for coffee as well. There's like wine and cheese and whiskey and like Star Trek and Doctor Who, if you've heard of it, all these like TV shows. So you can literally come up with a society for anything at a British university. I wasn't involved in all of those, but I just was aware of them. So I would have been involved in things like the Law Society. One of the funny things for me was that rowing was quite a big thing at Oxford. And I'm from Northern Ireland, so I'd barely even heard of rowing until I went to university. But I kind of thought, oh, this is a funny thing that people do in Oxford, and you see it on TV sometimes. So I'll do it like once, and then I'll come home and I'll say, oh, I did rowing at Oxford. But I tried it once, and then I really enjoyed it. So I just did it for a good couple of years while I was at university. And yeah, things like I joined the Christian Union, for example. There's societies for people with religious beliefs, so that I find really beneficial and made lots of friends. I think when I came to UPF, I think that myself and some of the other exchange students found it difficult to find societies. I think it struck me that there were a lot of volunteering things, but I'm not sure. To be honest, that was probably my fault for not getting us involved in that kind of stuff. I remember, lots of stalls and so I think that was probably my own fault. But I suppose I wasn't aware of as many social societies. I think, but things like Jessup were great. I meet people, and in terms of just meeting people in UPF, everyone, I love you guys. I love Spanish people, and you're all very friendly. So being in classes with people was great. So I met people that way. But yeah, it was quite different. I don't know how you guys feel, but I find it quite different.
And we have many societies in UPF, but I think not in the law degree. In the law degree, I think we have ELSA, the European Law Students Association, and not many others, I think. But maybe I'm wrong. I think all the rest go more into consulting, investing, marketing. They have a marketing club, for example.
Although I think at the same time, for example, I would say that one of the reasons that there are so many societies at Oxford is because I know that if you have an idea and you want to create a society, and I don't know, you think there should be a cheese club, and you'll talk about cheese, have meetings and things, then you can go to the university and they'll give you a little bit of money to help you set it up and some resources and things. So I think that, yeah, the university will help you if you ask. So I guess part of it is having support.
Yeah, but like maybe at UPF, as they are like as many as at Oxford, if there are only 5 and you say, yeah, I want to do a chess club, like university is gonna say no, this is something serious. What about the relationship with your colleagues at Oxford? Like,
so I really found that there was not much competition at all. I think that part of the benefit of being in a college is that it's quite a, because there are something like 11,000 undergraduate students at Oxford, and so breaking it down into colleges means it's much easier. It's smaller groups. So, for example, when I joined St. John's College, there were I think 8 or 9 of us in that year doing law at my college.
Wow.
So it wasn't like we were having to meet 300 people doing the same thing. There were only 8 or 9 of us, and it was also, I was really lucky because my college, all of the colleges have their own libraries. That's another thing that's great about them. There's a big law library that everyone can go to, and then all the colleges have their own little libraries. And sometimes, like with my college, the library will have its own section for law students, or it'll have we even had our own law library. It was only one sort of room, but it was quite good because it basically meant we had our own space as a small group of law students. So there was about 8 people in my year that started and did law together, and there were about 30 law students in total at St. John's College, and they were in different years. And that made it really, really friendly, and actually the complete opposite, I would say, of competition, because we were all in it together. We were all doing the same essays every week. We were all having the same tutorials. So we would have helped each other out. We actually got in trouble at one point because our professor thought that we were all copying each other's essays. So he told us that he was saying, "Oh, I'm glad you're being friendly, but don't copy." And the other thing is that the students, when you start in first year, the students at your college who do law, who are above you, they've in second and third year and so on, they're often really, really friendly as well. They will help you by sharing their notes, and if you don't understand something, you can ask them about it and so on. And because we're all in sort of the same library and there's only about 30 of us, it was really, really friendly.
It's like you created your own community, and since the others had been there before, were able to help you because it's what someone did to them, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
And we can talk now about technology, since it's one of our main topics in this project. And you said before the subjects, the courses you took were more up to date in Oxford than in the UPF. But we would like to know if you also had legal tech courses or similar in Oxford.
For the subjects that we do, they teach us this is the law right now. So it's up to date in that way, right? But I actually, that is probably one thing I think UPF does better than Oxford, because there's not a lot of choice. There's not very many options about doing things that are not the courses you have to do to become a lawyer. So at Oxford we do a total of 12 subjects, and of those 12, I think it is something like I think 8 out of the 12 are compulsory subjects for the purposes of a qualifying law degree, And so yeah, a degree that you need to be a practicing lawyer. And then on top of that, two of the subjects are subjects that Oxford makes us do. So they're compulsory because you've gone to Oxford. And then we only get to choose two subjects in our final year. So that's something I think UPF does a lot better. I don't know how many subjects you guys get to choose in total, but I mean, even when I was there, I got quite a lot of choice beyond the ones I had to do for the exchange program. So I think that's one thing where Oxford is probably a bit old-fashioned, is traditional, is not as up to date, because as I say, you only get two options, and they're not quite as high, as up to date, as modern as some other universities. I think though, if you finish your undergraduate degree and then come back to do a master's at Oxford, there are more options.
And we ask you this because we found that Spanish universities are still lacking more education in topics like legal tech, so students can have an idea of what's going on in the real market. And that's why our project was born, to give voice to those people that have taken a different path, or have found the tools to follow their own path. That's why we were asking about this, to know if it's the same in the UK.
I think that in terms of the university, I think that Oxford is very good at the academics. It's very good at the studying. It's very good at teaching you helping you to learn because you want to learn. The university itself is not great at careers, and what I mean is that, for example, my professor, my head professor at my college, who I really admired, he's a really great teacher. He loves the law and loves talking about the law, loves teaching the law, but he would not be very up to date on current careers advice, for example. Although he is great for giving me a reference to these. I think when you think about the students, people have lots of different ideas. So I chose to study law because I think I probably knew before I started studying law that I wanted to work in law. And I think quite a few people are like that. But at the same time, I would say in the UK, that law, and I'm sure it's the same in Spain, that a law degree is quite a well-respected degree, regardless of whether you become a lawyer afterwards. So a lot of people will study law even if they know for a fact they never want to be a lawyer, because it's seen as quite a good degree. And I suppose one thing that Oxford is good at in that sense is that because there's more of a focus on discussion and debate, it helps when you move away from law and you want to work in something else, because those are useful skills even if you don't do law.
Yeah, exactly. And now that you've said that, how can someone become a lawyer in the UK?
Like I say, we have two types of lawyers: solicitors who work in firms and barristers who work in court. And that's the simple way of dividing it. Obviously, it's a bit more complicated. If you want to be a lawyer in the UK, the first stage is to do a degree. So either you have to do a law degree, which is what I did, or you have to do any other degree, so history, Spanish, music, maths, whatever. You do a different type of degree, and then you have to do an extra year of what's called the graduate diploma in law, which is basically a conversion course that teaches you all the stuff from the law degree in 1 year. So it's quite intense. So the law degree is normally 3 years. Mine was 4 years, obviously, because I came and studied in UPF. And for other people, most other degrees are also 3 years, and then they would do an extra year of the conversion course, so that's also 4 years. And then once you've done the conversion course, then you need to do professional training. So in my case, as I say, I'm doing what's called the bar course to become a barrister. But other people who would like to become solicitors do what's called the I think it's the legal practice course. We call it the LPC, and I've forgotten what it stands for, but it's okay. something like that. So that's another year. So that's the year I'm in at the minute. That'll be my 5th year. And then after that, there's an extra year of on-the-job training as a barrister. So I will hopefully get a job, and then I will follow a senior lawyer around for a year and see what they do, and then hopefully replicate that, follow that. And then if you are becoming a solicitor, you finish your 1 year of professional training and you do 2 years on the job training, and that's often called a training contract. So you'll get a job at a firm, and the firm will train you for 2 years, and then normally you'll get a job at the firm at the end of the 2 years.
Lastly, we would like to ask you the last 2 questions we ask to all our guests. And the first one is what piece of advice would you give to your student university self?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Well, actually, no, I do know one piece of advice, which is a bit more boring. It's that another one thing, actually, you asked me earlier about differences between UPF and Oxford. I forgot a very big difference is that we've only got 3 exams in first year when we're freshers, and then we don't have any exams until the very end of the degree, and then we have to do all of our exams in all of the other subjects. So that's very different because, I assume the experience I had was similar to you guys in terms of exams every term at UPF, and you get that subject out of the way and you don't have to think about it again. So the piece of advice I would give myself, I think, is that I probably could have done a bit more preparation in first and second year before coming to the exams at the end, because it was quite a lot of work to revise all of the subjects, especially because I had been away in Barcelona. So I really loved my time at uni. I think I tried to make the most of it. I'd say I suppose one piece of advice I would give to anyone, myself included, who was starting university again would just be to enjoy it, because I think we can get very caught up with trying to make sure that we have the best CV and do all the lots and lots of other things that sound and work really hard and sound really good, so that we can get the job at the end. But I think it's also important to enjoy university while we're doing it. So exactly. That would be my piece of advice.
Yeah, that is very important as well.
We also ask our guests to nominate our next guest to the podcast.
Did you ever meet Max Raquel? One of my friends, Max, he was also on the exchange with me. Okay. He did the same thing as me. He did law at Oxford and he did the exchange to Barcelona, but he is actually part Spanish, and his family are quite international, so I think he's got quite a cool story, and he's very into, the legal tech stuff.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I think he's even got his own podcast, so you could maybe do a crossover show or something.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
So we'll try to contact him. And finally, I wanted to ask you one last question, and it is if you could tell us the Spanish word that you like the most, or the most useful one for you.
If I had to pick a word, it'd be Raquel. Is it? I'm gonna get it wrong again, but was it cookie?
Cookie. Que cookie.
Raquel taught me that. Yeah.
Que cookie. I was like with cookie.
No, because I was saying que cookie all the time when we were in Jessup.
But yeah, no, I love Spanish, and I think you guys have so many phrases that are great. And So I love the way things translate and sometimes don't, and something cool. But yeah, Spanish is great.
Okay, so que cookie. So thank you so much, Joshua, for participating in this podcast. It has been a pleasure having you here, and we wish you the best. And I hope we can see each other soon in Barcelona or wherever.
Absolutely.
All the best, Joshua.
When the plague goes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And for those who still do not follow us, remember you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on our website. We publish a new chapter every week, and you'll be able to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, ebooks, and many more. And remember, Joshua also started studying law.